A working mother releasing their list of the 100 best companies in America to work for if you're a working mother. So where are the best places and why are they ranked as such? Joining us now is Working Mother Media CEO Carol Evans. Carol, welcome.
Thank you so much.
First off, before we get to the list of, say, the top few,
yes.
How do you define it? What criteria are you looking for?
This is a very rigorous application process. Companies have to apply. They have to fill out a questionnaire with 550 questions about everything from flexibility, flexible work arrangements, child care, how do you treat your workers on their needs for elder care even. And of course, everything has to wrap up into the advancement of women. If your women aren't advancing in the company, then it's all for nothing to have all this support.
As I understand it now, more women now than men are now working in the United States for the first time ever.
That's because the recession has hit men harder than women. And so what that means is that a lot of moms are now the sole breadwinner in their families. You can imagine what kind of a stress that's putting on the family.
Okay, so let's get, people love lists. Now, are these ranked like 1 to whatever, or are these, if you just make the list, it's a good thing and there's not necessarily a better company than another?
There is a hierarchy. There's the top 10.
So is Abbott number 1?
Abbott is not number 1. They're one of the top 10.
They're one of the, okay, so we're just going to do the top 10 as like as top 10.
Yes, top 10, and then everybody else is 11. all other 90 companies consider themselves 11. So.
Okay, so we look at companies like Abbott, you got General Mills up there, you got Grant Thornton. What do these companies then specifically offer? I heard that General Mills has like a meditation room now.
Well, General Mills has a very broad array of programs and policies. And it's not just that they have programs and policies. It's also that they create access on a broad basis. They allow almost all of their employees to use these programs. And we also track usage of the programs. So a company like General Mills or Abbott, they make sure that their employees know about these programs and don't feel a stigma against using them.
Yeah, because that's a great point. Because that can listen, it's like, I'm going to go down to the nap room for a few minutes.
Right,
like,
and your boss is like, what?
My team is going to be like, no, you're not.
Right, get back here,
yeah,
get
boss,
on the air.
Hold on, I need to go self-reflect for a couple of days. I'll be in the Pig and Whistle bar next door.
Right, I need to take a sabbatical, you know, what, right now?
I just need to go away for a few months,
you see
find myself.
That
doesn't work.
It does work, it does work. It works because companies have made a culture shift in their corporations. They've thought about themselves as companies that support employees as human beings, not just as workers.
And that sounds nice, but the reality, companies' jobs basically is to make money, right?
Yes.
If you don't make money, there's no reason to exist.
Right.
So all of the things that you and I have talked about, do they go to things like the bottom line? Do they go to employee retention? Losing employees and turning them over is one of the biggest expenses companies have.
Well,
do these companies have lower turnover than others?
They have lower turnover. They have higher ROI. The ROI on these programs is worker productivity and worker contentment. And there's been a study by Cornell that said that these companies that make the list have $1 billion more capitalization than companies that don't make the list.
So it impacts their stock price.
It impacts their stock price
vis-a-vis
enormously.
Earnings and long-term productivity.
Those tests have been done, yes. And it's because the employees feel a higher level of satisfaction in their job, so they're doing a better job at IBM, at Abbott, at Discovery Communications,
and they're probably, I'm
McGraw-Hill.
guessing, less likely to be lured away by the simple promise of a little more money. You know, if you got a job in marketing and you're making, you know, $50,000, someone comes along and says, I'll pay you $55,000.
Money is not the point.
If your company gives you all these things, the $5,000, you know, once you factor in taxes, right?
Flex time is much more important to working mothers than a $5,000 raise, because that's how they live their life and that's how they make it work for their families as well as their career. You can't pay for that kind of flexibility.
Do you do any list of the worst 10?
Well, we know who they are, but we don't do them.
What about working fathers? There's a lot of Mannies out there now, right?
You know, yes, there are, but that's not.
What about us?
Yeah, well, you were in there, man, because I'll tell you why.
I'm here. I'm sitting here.
Every benefit that we've created and helped companies invest in for working mothers can also be applied to everybody. Working fathers, men,
not the
women.
Lactation room.
Well, that's special.
That is one that we're not going to be taking advantage of.
But what about paternity leave? You know, moms, they have to go through childbirth and then they get maternity leave. Dads, they get paternity leave without having to go through childbirth, so that's not bad.
I went to Vegas.
You did?
Kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking.
So. I'll have to slap you.
Believe me, I'm joking. So.
It's really an important point, though, that all companies apply these programs broadly so that if you're a young kid who wants to train for the marathon, you can use flexible work arrangements to do that.
Yeah, that's very cool. And more importantly, I think for companies who are looking to keep employees happy, like you said, it keeps labor turnover down and, according to your study, adds value to their stock and their market cap.
And keeps productivity high.
Very nice. Good stuff. Carol Evans, we appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here.
All right, Working Mother Media CEO. All right, time for our first on Fox Business.